Alright, hello Professor Garrett. So I'm going to be walking you through the imagery for a penalty kick. So there's many parts of the penalty kick, but the first thing I'm going to want you to do, stand like if you're on the field. Imagine yourself in front of that goal, in front of that goalie, the ball in front of you. Imagine yourself in that situation. Take a few moments to imagine you, that ball, that field, that goal. After you take a few moments to imagine this for yourself, you're going to take a few deep breaths and just realize that this is a very critical moment. But it's important not to stress yourself out. So, imagine yourself scoring the goal. Imagine yourself where you want to place the ball. Imagine yourself kicking the ball. Imagine yourself scoring the goal before you do any of this. Picture where you want the ball to go. Picture how hard you want to kick the ball. Picture where you want the ball to be in the grass. Picture the direction and the velocity of the path of the ball. Picture where you think the goalie is going to be when you kick the ball. Try to imagine where he might dive to before you kick the ball. So, when you're imagining this, the key things to imagine yourself doing are the position of the foot hitting the ball. You're going to want to hit that ball right on the lace of your foot. And you got to make sure that part of this kicking the ball, your run-up is very important. Imagine yourself running up to the ball at a very steady pace. Not too fast, not too slow. Just picture it like a light jog. And this is critical because overrunning can cause you either missing the ball, kicking the ball too hard. It can affect very many different variables. I'm going to want you to imagine yourself extending your leg perfectly like you see in the MLS logo. Imagine yourself extending your leg and kicking that ball right on the laces. Just picture yourself doing that. I want you to picture and imagine the power that you have behind the kick, how hard you want to kick it. How, when you kick that ball, it's either going to be the right speed or even slow because you want to trick the goalie. But I want you to envision the power of that kick. And I want you to take into consideration and imagine the condition of the field. Imagine yourself putting that ball in a nice part of the field where you know that it's not going to affect your kick. In a part of the field where you feel like the ball is set in a good place. Imagine yourself doing all that. And take a few moments just to relax and envision this. So, you're going to want to imagine some of the specifics of the environment that you're in. Some of those conditions can be how the field is, the conditions of the field and how they feel on your feet. If the field is wet, picture yourself on a wet field, but envision yourself on that wet field scoring that goal. Picture yourself with those conditions not affecting your kick at all. When you're doing this, you're going to envision yourself, you're going to smell that grass, the smell of fresh cut grass, and you're going to smell that slight hint of paint because they just marked the fields for the game. You're going to see that goal. You're going to visualize where you want the ball to go in that goal. And you got to see the position of the goalie. Try to envision where the goalie is going to be at when you decide to kick it, or where you think he might guess to dive for the ball. And of course, this task is very nerve-wracking. It can determine the game, and it's of course of high importance. But it is important to not let that get to your head. You gotta take a few deep breaths in, a few deep breaths out, calm your heart rate, and focus on the task at hand. It is important that your timing is perfect. You cannot run up to the ball and then have a late kick, because then you can either kick the grass or injure yourself. And of course, that is not ideal. You gotta really practice the movement. Even before you go to kick that penalty kick, do a couple of warm-up runs. Just like when you see a basketball player shooting a free throw, you see him bounce the ball a couple times and shoot the ball. Practice doing that a little bit. Just practice yourself running up to that ball and kick right next to it. Just get a feel for the conditions of where you're at right now. And do not let the emotions get to your head. It's important that you do not let the nerves, your anxiety, your accelerated heart rate get to you. Just calm yourself. Take a few moments to relax. A few deep breaths in, a few deep breaths out, and everything will be okay. It is important that this imagery is taken into account, because imagery can determine how you perform. The way you perform a lot of the times is all in your head. So if you can imagine yourself successfully completing a task, then many times it does happen. So after you envision yourself doing this, go ahead and take a shot at that penalty kick. And I can almost guarantee you that it's going to go in. Just because you imagined and you practiced this in your head, you took all the variables into consideration, and you're ready for this. Take that penalty kick. You envisioned it in your mind. Now make what you envision a reality. Thank you.